I'm going to bring in Mr. Jason Unruhe. He's a political commentator as well as analyst who is joining us via Skype out of Ontario to help us give you a better meaning out of that piece. Mr. Unruhe, it's good to see you, and it's good to talk to you again. Of course, to me, this looks like a green light by America to tell Turkey that they can move ahead with their plan.
Well, to me, that would certainly be the what would be said as well. I think it's very significant that the U.S. has decided to perhaps not officially cease supporting the Kurdish forces inside the region, but this would certainly be a significant step towards that. Now, the Kurds have played a very large role in enforcing U.S. interests inside of Syria. They've occupied much of the northeastern area, which is very heavy with the potential for oil production, and they have always been seen, and quite rightly so, as a proxy force of the United States. Yet this sudden move to just withdraw essentially their support, to no longer seek to protect them from any kind of military action by Turkey is very significant. I think probably most people right now are seeing this as the U.S. Leaving the Kurds behind because they're no longer of any real value to the United States. I think it's very clear that the Syrian army and the legitimate Syrian government is going to retake the country. It is only a matter of time until the last pockets of terrorist forces are rooted out by the government, and then eventually the government will begin a campaign to take the rest of its land back from occupying forces, which unfortunately the Kurds did decide to do by becoming a proxy of the United States. This has also emboldened them to a large degree to carry out attacks against Turkish targets inside of Turkey. And Turkey, of course, is going to retaliate against something like that. But I think the important crux here is the fact that the Kurds are no longer serving the purpose that they once did for the United States. Several years ago, it was very quietly passed in the mainstream media that a U.S. Air Force base was built on what's said to be Kurdish land, and this was largely ignored for the most part until the United States came out openly saying that they were in an alliance with the Kurds, specifically the so-called Syrian Democratic Forces. And since that time, a lot of crimes by that same SDF have been carried out, including ethnic cleansing, removing ethnic Arabs from their homes, and then many of those Kurdish forces claiming that land to be their own. But I think that it's important because all of that was done with essentially the blessing and the support of the United States. As long as they continued to function as a proxy for U.S. imperialism, they were essentially given a free hand to do whatever they want, very much as some people describe them as almost an Israel 2.0. But it seems that backing from the United States, while not officially withdrawn, it seems that it's very much headed in that direction with the material and political support normally given to the Kurdish forces now being withdrawn from the United States, giving Turkey a free hand to carry out operations.
You know, one other thing, Jason, that I'm pretty sure that the people of the region are thinking about, especially people of Syria itself, is that they would hate hearing the news that another tension is in the making in the region. How big of a tension do you think is really in the making, given the current situation, given the fact that I also remind our viewers that the Kurds have also said that such an act by Turkey would bring about, on their part, an all-out war?
Well, obviously, this is a very delicate situation, one that many of us had hoped was coming to an end. But there are very many regional and ethnic tensions inside an area so heavily disputed as of this. So this could cause this could cause destabilization to some degree. One thing any country needs is stable borders, that being ones that are not militarily challenged, not necessarily whether people are crossing the border or not, but one that is secured from military threat. And that is something that Turkey does want. Something like this, if it were to blow up into something larger, for example, areas of operation were to expand, this could end up dragging other countries into it, or Kurdish forces from other countries say maybe they could theoretically start recruiting Kurds from Iraq, and then that would by proxy bring Iraq into it, because they were, although not willingly, a source for many of the fighters for it. This is something that I hope is resolved very quickly without causing too much tension in the region. But I think it is something that could be very dangerous, but something that is probably not going to go away anytime soon. I fear that at some point there's going to be a meeting of Turkish, Syrian, and Kurdish forces all at one point at some time, and such a situation is not likely to go very well.
Let's hope for that. Jason Unruhe, a political commentator and analyst out of Ontario. It was good to talk to you. Thank you for your time.